Happy Tuesday, everybody, and happy belated 420. I was supposed to film this video yesterday, which was actual 420, but I'm lazy and still adjusting, trying to do things in increments while being home. But anyway, welcome back to my review of Insecure season 4, episode 2. So I think what I'm gonna do for the longer series, instead of watching the episodes with you guys, I think I'm going to just watch the show on my own, take notes, and then give you my feedback. So that's what I did for this episode, so it's a little bit more clear, and I hope that it makes more sense. I was reading comments earlier today. Someone pointed out, I guess, in episode 1 that the part at the beginning where I thought that Issa broke the fourth wall by the news reporter talking to her. Apparently, she was watching the show, and Issa was on the phone speaking to somebody. So I might have to go back and rewatch it because that's not what I saw. But I apologize for making that mistake. But yeah. So I wrote it down this time. So you do pronounce it. It's Condola. So the first scene opens up to Molly and Andrew on a date, and the date seems to be going well. So well, in fact, that by the end of the night, Andrew and Molly end up hooking up, which was quite surprising because she seemed kind of weird on him. But I'm glad that it seems that Andrew has responded positively to Molly's text about letting Andrew know that she likes him. So that was pretty cool. And now we have moved 1 month forward in time. So this is now 3 months before the block party 3. I don't know why I was holding up 4, excuse me. And so let me just pause for a second. It seems like last episode we were following mainly Issa, and then the little details of how things came to be. This episode we kind of just jumped from person to person, scene to scene. Just to give you little updates about what's happening in their life. I don't know if each episode is going to be a month leading up to it, or if there's important stuff in between. But anyway, so this is 3 months before the block party, and we get a scene where Condola and Issa are planning the layout of the block party. So they're actually on the street talking about what sections of this particular area is that they want to block off to be able to set up for the block party. They're talking about sponsors, where they want to put things, and I guess it comes out during their conversation that Condola and Lawrence are planning a romantic getaway. So Issa is like, oh, but she's not bothered by it, and they finally end up hashing it out, having awkward conversation about Lawrence, which I think was good. I think, like I said for the first episode, I don't think Condola has any ill will towards Issa, and I don't think that Issa necessarily feels a way because she wants Lawrence back or anything like that. I think it's just awkward because it's just awkward. She has this new blossoming friendship with Condola and this new project that she's undertaking that she's really enjoying, and that's a little odd to find out that this girl that you're hitting it off with is dating your ex, but not unbearable, just uncomfortable. So they make a little joke about how, I guess, Lawrence eats his french fries with mayo. And they have a little bonding moment, but she's like, listen, it's cool. It's not a big deal. I don't want it to be weird every time Lawrence comes up. I don't want you to feel like you have to hide him or he has to be a secret. I'm happy for the both of you. And I think it was sincere. So the problem is that it comes back later with Lawrence, and I don't like his response, but we'll get there. So, cut to the next scene. It's the Hollywood, they're prepping for, it's Halloween night, I think. All the ladies are in costume. And, they're updating each other about their lives, as they always do whenever they get together as a foursome. And Molly complains about Andrew. So now she's complaining about how Andrew isn't opening up to her. And I guess this would be a valid complaint from me, maybe if it was 3 months into the relationship. But if it's only been a month forward, I think Molly's doing too much. I think she should just enjoy the time that she's spending with Andrew, because he seems vested in her. He really wants to go on dates with her. He's hitting her up frequently. She's getting callbacks. They've had great sex. I don't understand what the problem is. And Issa kind of says that when she's trying not to step on her toes, but she's like, it seems like you're just trying to find a reason to complain. And it seems like that's what Molly does. She'll find a guy that is great, but she always has to find something that she doesn't like about him. But Tiffany does bring in a good point, even though I don't really care for her, that if it is bothering you, you do have to speak up, right? Because if not, it's going to drive her crazy, bite your tongue, and it could turn into something bigger later on. So, that's pretty much it for that scene. So, it cuts to Issa still hooking up with the TSA security guard. And that was a really interesting thing because they were having sex and the condom ends up coming off and I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell y'all that because I feel like that would be like a YouTube restriction. But she gets it out. It was a very awkward encounter. We come back to TSA Bay later. So next scene. So I forgot a part. When they were all together for the Halloween party, after Tiffany tells her that she should confront her. So it cuts back to this scene. Molly is calling Andrew to schedule a date. So she wants to have a dinner date at her house and tells him like just he doesn't even question it. He's like, "Sure, of course, I'll bring wine, it'll be great." So also, I love the lime green jacket that she had on in the scene because she calls him while she's at work, which was really cute. So that's it for that scene. So next one is Lawrence and Condola are on a date. So here's the thing. I don't think there was anything wrong with Condola mentioning that she had a conversation with Issa. I think it was how she brought it up that made it awkward. I think had she not made it into a joke, and knowing, like, the tension between the whole thing of finding out that she's dating a friend, and she's friends with his ex, and just kind of, like, it's a weird tension. I think they had it brought up in casual conversation, and she just, like, hey, I know it was really weird the other week when I told you last month or whatever that, I'm friends with your ex. I know that I'm friends with your ex, but I just want you to know that Issa and I had a conversation and we cleared the air and there are no hard feelings and everything is great. And she gave us her blessing about us dating and we're still friends and we're cool. So we don't have to worry about that awkwardness anymore. We don't have to hide that we're dating. Everything's great. And I think had she taken that approach, it would have been fine, but I don't really care for Lawrence anyway, so I feel like there was no right way to do it, but I could see it creating an unneeded tension because Condola brought it up in a weird way. Which brings me to Lawrence's reaction. Okay, I'm back. I had to stop to take care of something real quick and then come back to filming. I apologize if the lighting looks a little bit different in the second half of the video than it does in the first, but I'm trying to... The sun, of course, is moved because time has passed, but I'm trying to film this before I lose sunlight because it's perfect lighting. So, I was left off talking about the dinner scene with Condola and Lawrence. So, yes, like I said, I think they could have, that conversation at their dinner could have went smoother had Condola brought the conversation up in a different context. I think with her joking about what her and Issa said made it sound like they were conversating about Lawrence when that really wasn't the case. And she tried to explain it, but Lawrence was already still kind of defensive, which... Anyway, so after that happens, he gets, like, visibly nervous or weird about it because he doesn't like them talking about her. And then it cuts to him at home with his boys, which one, I believe, is Tiffany's husband. And the other guy... I don't think we've ever met his wife, the other guy that he's talking to, but he's notorious for giving terrible advice, and I think he keeps cheating on his girlfriend. But anyway, the guys kind of give terrible yet, like, good advice at the same time. I like to believe everything that they say is, like, a half-truth. Like, they usually start off going in the right direction, and then they say something that just kind of goes way off the mark. So... You know, they give this advice about how Lawrence needs to lay down the law and tell Issa that they can't talk to each other. I mean, that Issa is not supposed to speak to him about him. Same thing for Condola. and I guess really giving advice like they shouldn't be friends at all. But Lawrence is like trying to get the best way to handle it. And one of his friends is like, whatever it is that you do, make sure that you're clear because you don't want it to come back to bite you, which was good advice. Honestly, I think Lawrence was overreacting a bit. I know that he's still hurt, which he has the right to be about Issa cheating on him, but I don't think aside from the cheating, I don't think Issa's shown any sign of trying to be, like, malicious towards Lawrence. I think she just keeps popping up in these awkward moments, and Lawrence has kind of been hostile with her, even though she's tried to keep it cordial. And I thought it was kind of unnecessary. Like, I felt like he was blowing it a little bit out of proportion. Like, I don't know. Maybe felt like he was trying to make it about himself in a way that it really wasn't. Like, it wasn't that deep. Like, they weren't sitting around talking about him. It was just, this is awkward. We're friends, but we're also working together, so we need to hash this out. Which I thought Condola tried to make as clear as she could, but you could tell Lawrence really wasn't trying to hear it. So then it cuts to the next scene of Condola and Issa are finishing up what looks like a meeting in a public setting. And then they're chatting, they're getting along. Molly walks in and she looks visibly like annoyed that they're even talking and getting along. And they chat, they hug. They're like, Issa's cool with it, Condola's cool with it, but like you could tell Molly really didn't like the group hug. She's still bothered by them hanging out. And Issa did mess up in the sense that she invited Condola to stay and eat with them. And I can see like Issa's intentions of being like, I'm trying to make this work because I like these two people, and I think they're really cool. And Condola seems, even though she's friends with Tiffany, doesn't really seem to have any of Tiffany's habits of putting Issa down. So I think she's really enjoying that. And she's excited about this project she's working on. But I also understand how, if you make plans to spend personal time with your friends, like if it was already a group, I think it would have been okay to invite Condola. But I think Issa and Molly are accustomed to having a setting where they have their time, where it's just the two of them to bond. And then they have friends time where they hang out with Tiffany and Kelly as a foursome. Like, had they already been a foursome and then invite Condola, I think it would have been fine. But since it was just the two of them, I think it felt a little weird. And she knows that Molly's still not like, Issa knows Molly's still not really into Condola like that, because she's on Issa's side. She's her friend. Like, I don't want no one else, causing trouble. To me, this is weird. I don't know this girl, and she's messing with your ex. That seems sketchy to me. Molly tells her, like, I don't know Condola. I was planning on talking to you about personal stuff. It doesn't feel right to really talk about it in front of her, especially because she knows that her and like Andrew are still going through it, because Molly doesn't really know what to do with that. And you don't really want to bring some person in when, that you just met to talk about your personal life, especially if Molly's known for having, like, issues. So, I get that. So, the next scene cuts to Lawrence pulling up to Issa's apartment building to talk. And personally, I think this whole conversation was a bad idea. I think that he honestly blew it out of proportion. I think that him bringing it up in this way is going to backfire on him in the future, and I'm going to explain why. I think it's going to backfire in the sense that his friend gave good advice that if you were going to go speak to either one of them about this, you need to be clear about what it is that you're saying and why you're saying it, because you don't want to send mixed messages. And I think in this case, Lawrence sent a mixed message because he pulled up on Issa like, hey, I really like this girl. Things are going well. Please don't talk about me. And Issa told her, like, same thing Condola pretty much said. It was like, it was a really simple conversation of just hashing it out. It's not that, like, deep. We weren't, like, conversating about you. It wasn't a talk about a rehashing of our past when we were dating or any of that stuff. It was just, this elephant is in the room. I like you as a friend. We're working together. We need to just clear the air. And I don't know, Lawrence's character kind of annoys me because he shows up to be rude towards Issa, and I'm just kind of like, if they're not gonna put them back together, can we please stop bringing Lawrence back? Because it's already been established that we don't like Lawrence. They're broken up, and Issa's trying to move past it, but it seems like Lawrence keeps wriggling himself back into her life. Like, if we wanted to be real, if we want to be real about it, if they knew that they were in a baby shower and they were all friends, including you knew your ex was there, Lawrence kind of shouldn't have been asking anybody out on a date or in any of that stuff unless it was already something that they were gonna understand what's happening. And he keeps doing stupid stuff like that where I feel like he's being messy, and then when it turns into something weird, then he blames Issa for being weird about it when he set the scenario up to be like that in the first place. Like, if you know there's only few guys, you know whose baby shower it is, you know that a lot of your friendships formed while you and Issa were dating, you needed to tread that line carefully. And I feel like one of his friends mentioned something similar of being like, if you shouldn't have said anything, and if you were going to talk to her, you should have slept with her that one time and kept it pushing. You shouldn't even be trying to keep it as a serious thing. And as corny as that like sounds, I kind of get it because it's just adding a layer of messiness that nobody really asked for. Like, Issa didn't anticipate that Condola and her were gonna hit it off and that she was gonna help her with the block party. And he didn't anticipate meeting her at the baby shower, but at the same time, like, he could have put two and two together a little bit of being like, of all the women you could date, why would you want to date somebody that's here at this party? So I could see that. And yeah, so that conversation, I feel like between the two of them came off more awkward than it needed to be, and it seemed like Lawrence cares in a way that he shouldn't, because if he's being honest, Issa's not going to sabotage him, right? He already said, I don't think you should stop working with Issa. Issa said it's cool that you guys date. I think Lawrence should have honestly just left it alone. Like, if they came up and they're having another conversation about him again, then I could understand him being like, okay, please seriously don't speak about me, or if you're gonna talk about me, don't tell me because it makes me uncomfortable. That would make more sense, but he blew it out of proportion, and now it's gonna seem like he cares which if he didn't, he would have just let it go. I hope that makes sense. So the next scene cuts to Molly and Andrew's dinner date at Molly's apartment. She's cooking food, and apparently Molly's not a very good cook. She lets Andrew know that they're not having sex and that she's putting it on pause because that's what she told the girls at the party. And Andrew seems cool with it. He's like, all right, fine, if that's what you feel. He jokes about her food being too salty, but I guess she had tried to cook it 3 times, which is cute to me because it means Molly really likes him, that she's even trying to go through all this stuff to impress him. So the date seems to be going fine. And they're chatting back and forth. And the reason why Molly, she's saying that she's having trouble with Andrew opening up. That was the complaint earlier in the episode. And she does question Andrew, like, a little bit, like, what's up with your family? How about your mom, your dad? You have any siblings? Like, she knows he has a sister. He makes some odd comment about, like, he hasn't seen his family in a long time and that he doesn't know where his sister is. So, of course, if someone says that to you, you're gonna immediately be like, well, you're gonna give me some more details, or you're just gonna let that slide? Like, you didn't just let that come out. And Andrew's kind of, like, standoffish. She was kind of like, I don't want to talk about it. And, you know, Molly, she was like, you don't have to be weird around me. We can talk. It's cool. Like, I'm listening. And she's just trying to make him feel comfortable and make sure that he's reciprocating, like, the behavior that she's giving him. And he kind of just shuts down after that. He's just like, you're always looking for something. Like, you're never satisfied. Which is kind of true. Like, honestly, like I said earlier, I think Molly's just pushing it. I think if they were dating for a little bit longer, her being curious about why he won't open up wouldn't be so weird. Like, if they were dating for 3 months and Andrew still doesn't want to share anything about himself, that would be a red flag. But it's only been a month. Like, you're just hanging out, you're vibing, you're enjoying each other's time. Maybe I'm not the one to ask. I don't know. But that's how I felt. But he ends up getting upset. He leaves because he asks her one more time to go to that Summer Walker concert. Mind you, he's asked her twice. She said no. She'd rather stay there. and he ends up leaving to go to the concert without her. Which she's better than me because I feel like Molly for episode 1 we were mad insecure, like worried about him dating other girls, and then now you're just gonna send him off to a concert where he could be in a room full of women and he was trying to hang with you and you made it weird. But at the same time I can see her frustration. So like, like I want them to work. I like them as a couple. I think that he's interested in her. I think they're cute together. I think Molly, she's trying. She is trying. I know that the first episode did not paint her in a very good light, but it seems like she truly is trying in this episode and trying to understand what is happening. So the next scene cuts to Issa waiting for Condola to meet her at a concert. So I think they went to go see Schoolboy Q, and she's waiting for Condola to meet up with her. She's out in her car, and she gives Lance a call and brings up a good question of, does Condola know that we had the conversation the other day? Because I don't want to make another faux pas because we had a conversation, and I'm trying to be considerate. Should I bring up the conversation about, like, is Condola aware that you guys me and you had this conversation? Should I give her a call? I mean, should I tell her or bring this conversation up, or should it just not be something I mention at all? So Lawrence tells her, no, she doesn't know that I said anything to you about it, but please don't bring it up. I don't think it's necessary to tell her. Now, I feel like this is why I said it was a bad idea. He said it in the first place. I think they both have good intentions. I think Lawrence seriously does like Condola and wants things to go well. And I think he genuinely doesn't want things to turn into an issue, but he just wants to not have Issa be a conversation. And I think Issa is rooting for Lawrence and Condola and is happy for the both of them. Like, she is happy for Lawrence that he's found someone after their breakup, but she's also excited for Condola because she thinks she's a good person. Although the whole episode they kind of point out how, like, the similarities between Issa and her, which is funny. But the reason why I thought it was a bad idea is because I feel like this scene is going to come back to bite Lawrence in the ass. She's not going to say anything to him about this conversation, but somehow I feel like later it's going to come up, and Condola is going to wonder why Lawrence made such a big deal out of it, and that is going to throw a wrench into their possible relationship. Or Issa's going to be her awkward self and make a stupid comment later on, bringing it up, and it's going to make it awkward. Either way, somebody's going to throw a wrench somewhere where we really didn't need it had we just let this go. So, the next scene cuts to Molly alone by herself eating the rest of her dinner. And this, to me, felt like self-sabotage a little bit, because it was like you're pouting because you're alone at dinner. But you kind of started this because you keep pushing, but I also understand her trying to make Andrew comfortable. So she's bummed because she calls Issa. Issa, of course, doesn't pick up. She texts her to let her know that she's at the concert, so she can't really talk right now. Which Molly was already aware that Issa was attending, because she told her when they met up already. It cuts to the next scene of Molly at work. They have a meeting, I guess with all the people at her job about a case that they're working on. And she has an opinion, like a face, but her supervisor, or whomever he is to her, calls her out to ask her if she has something to add. She says no. So she leaves the meeting, and her partner, I forgot his name, but it's the bald guy that they partnered her with last time. They didn't have a very good interaction. He was a jerk. Molly was petty, but he's also been petty back, so I feel like she's just trying to learn to leave it alone. But he asks her, like, you being agreeable with me isn't going to help us win cases. It's not going to make you a better employee. So what is it that you have an issue with? And Molly actually owns up to her past mistakes towards him and apologizes for the way that she handled the case, and says that she just wants to do a good job and understands that if he doesn't want to be friends, that's okay, but she just doesn't want the workplace to be uncomfortable anymore. He doesn't really accept her apology per se, but he said okay, and he just leaves her office door open because I don't know, the vibe I got when I was watching it originally, I don't know if he treats her that way because he feels he has more experience than her, like he thinks he's above her, or if it's a misogyny thing, or he just talks over her like because she's a woman. But he wasn't very nice to her off the rip, so he didn't really give Molly incentive to be polite. I know that in corporate, like, people are very competitive, and there's just an attitude that comes with it. I personally don't have the patience because I don't think it's okay to speak to people like they're beneath you or without respect simply because you have a higher position. Everybody has value within the company, which is why they all work there. So that's just my 2 cents. So the last and final scene of the episode is Issa and Molly on taking their hike that they vowed that they were going to take. At the beginning, I think they agreed to this during the Halloween party or something because, you know, they hadn't seen each other because they hadn't had that little moment in the last episode. So, Issa tells Molly the truth, that she just thinks that she kind of is overreacting to it a bit, and that she kind of just gotta let him live a little bit. Like, you're having fun, you're having great sex with this guy, he's taking you out, he's giving you attention, like, just relax. And, you know, she feels like she screwed up. And surprisingly, Andrew gives her a call, which already lets us know that Andrew is, like, infinitely better than the other guys that she's seen in the entire series, because I don't think any of them, aside from maybe one guy, has ever called her to apologize for the behavior. And he did. Andrew copped to it. He said, "I'm sorry, you're right, I was being avoidant. I just don't know if I'm ready to open up." And it's new and it's different for him because he likes her, but this relationship is fresh. And Molly, surprisingly, also apologized for making him feel pressure. So to me, both of them, that was a very good step in the right direction to me, that they were both able to take accountability of, like, tripping over themselves. Like, I feel like they're getting to a point where they're like, we're not in a relationship, but we acknowledge that we like each other. We kind of want this to work, even though we don't know what we're doing. But I like the fact that Andrew, like, calls her out when she says stuff. Like, when they were having the dinner, he's like, "Okay, what's wrong?" Versus it being like we awkwardly go through dinner and just bringing up and being like, "Talk to me. What is the issue?" So I thought that was really nice. They of course say that they're gonna meet up later, and Issa asks her who she's speaking to when she gets off the phone, and Molly actually lies. She doesn't tell her that it's Andrew. And it's probably because that shame of being like what she just told, and, you know, Issa not being on her side. And I don't know, I feel like I've had, like, experiences of being on both sides, of being like, I understand where Molly's coming from and that she doesn't want to waste her time, but at the same time, I also think that her friends are right in the same vein of being like, you're looking for something to complain about. Like, you have everything else you need. Why can't you just enjoy the time that you're getting right now instead of focusing on the other stuff? And I think when they're telling her that, they're not saying it from a place of being like her feelings and stuff aren't invalid. But I think the part that Molly's discounting is that her friends who are telling her this are all in relationships. Like, Tiffany's married. Issa came out of a 5-year relationship. I don't think Kelly's had a boyfriend, or she doesn't speak of a boyfriend, but she's dating constantly. So you have 3 different women giving you perspectives of what they're talking about. But I do think that she did a good job of, like, taking from both advice of being like, be upfront, but also I think she's taking a step back with that last conversation that Andrew had, because him apologizing and her apologizing. We then find out that Issa has indeed broken off with TSA Bay, and apparently he has 3 kids and 1 more on the way. I don't know where the hell Issa keeps finding these people, these men that she's hooking up with, but sis, we gotta do better. And Molly, like, it has her looking off, you know, the mountain, looking sad at the end of the episode. And I will say, I get Molly's perspective of being like, she feels like no one's listening to her and she's not being heard and not really getting the praise, you know, for trying to grow as a person that we all would really like to hear. But I also feel like this episode showed a good point of life, that sometimes your friends and family can't be there all the time to pat you on the back. Because whenever she's had past problems, I feel like Issa's always been available to her. But now that Issa is kind of she's forming her own identity. She has her own separate friend. Molly doesn't have that go-to person where Issa can drop everything anymore. Tiffany's having a baby. Kelly's crazy. So I think she's just a little confused, and she feels a little, lost in the sauce and a little bit alone. But I think that's also an important life lesson, is to just sometimes you just gotta make decisions and go through life without somebody giving you the A-OK. But I actually think Molly did really well this episode. I think this filled in a few different holes, and she is listening to people even though she's kind of sad about it. So I'm curious to see where that was gonna go. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I hope that this was cohesive somewhat and that it made sense. I don't know. I know that people are really fired up about the season. I avoid trying to watch any reviews or anything until after I record these. So yeah, someone did respond to me about the last episode, and I have friends DMing me. So I would love to know, leave your comments for sure, and start a discussion. I'd love to know what you guys think about the episode and how Molly's handling it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I don't want to ask you to subscribe, but if you like this video and if you want to come back, that'd be really nice. But either way, I appreciate you for watching. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.